Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here, and may I please start by thanking Professor Lee Jiang-Wu for the invitation to speak. I'm not going to be nearly as interesting as the other speakers who are so impressive. I don't have fancy videos, and I don't have any content creation to show you. I'm going to talk about something that is boring but important. I'm going to talk about money. I was asked in 2017 to speak at Meetum, and I had been a bank lawyer for most of my career with a large Swiss financial institution, and I was thinking to myself, why are they asking me to speak at Meetum? But it became very clear to me why they were. It's because our clients were buying up the American music industry. So the big hedge funds, the big private equity funds, the big venture capital funds, the venture capitalists, the high net worth families, the high net worth persons were buying up the music industry. And so somebody like myself, as a lawyer who has been responsible for putting in place due diligence compliance programs and dealing with auditors and dealing with the money people and the investment advisors, was being asked to speak to the music industry in Cannes, France, to explain what they had to look forward to, like what was happening. And so that put me squarely in the music industry and the entertainment industry right away. So when I went and opened my own firm, I saw these gaps, and I was thinking to myself, there's something happening here in the Cayman Islands, in the Caribbean, across the world, where the music industry is changing. The people at the top who are influencing the content creators and the creatives, it's all happening, and it's all coming through the Cayman Islands, and it's all coming through my desk. So I spent a lot of time and effort researching it, and I was seeing that there was real gaps. So let me see, because I had some technical problems, and I don't think this was originally my slide. So let me see where I push this thing. There. Okay, you're not getting the fancy stuff, but you're getting the content, at least. What I was really hoping today to get across to you, there's a lot of misconception about what the Cayman Islands is and what we do there. So I'd like to talk to you about that today. Hopefully we can get that resolved. I'd like to talk to you about what we do and why we're good at what we do. I'd like to talk a little bit about what's happening in the creative space in the Caribbean as well, because I've heard the word collaboration a lot. And I think that's a huge area of opportunity for Korea and the Caribbean. I'd like to talk about our IP regime, because that's going to be really attractive both to the creators and the ancillary fintech industries. And I had a video for Cayman Kind, but I'm afraid I'm just going to have to get you to look on YouTube for that, because we weren't able to upload it. So who and what is the Caribbean? What is the Cayman Islands? Obviously, Cayman is situated between Jamaica and Cuba. We're only 90 miles away from Cuba. Hablo español si quieres hablar en español. We speak Spanish, we speak English, we speak French. It really is a place where everybody comes together. Very close to Jamaica, and very close to Haiti and Dominican Republic, but only 1 hour away from Miami. So it's very easy to get to the States, and direct flights everywhere into the United States. The most important thing I want to underscore here, and why Cayman is unique, is we are British. And so we have the regulatory scrutiny and the oversight of the UK government, in addition to all the international regulators. So anybody who thinks that Cayman is laundering money or hiding money, now don't pay attention to the K-pop. I watched a K-pop, coming here, I watched a K-pop series. It was fantastic. It was called Queen Maker. I loved it until the last episode, when it said the villain was, oh, spoiler alert, the villain was hiding her money in the Cayman Islands. And I thought, oh, that doesn't happen anymore. It might have happened 50 years ago, but it does not happen anymore. The one thing that celebrities like, and why we get a lot of very famous people coming into Cayman to create, is we have very strict immigration laws, so the paparazzi can't get in. So they can walk freely around without being bothered by anybody. If you like scuba diving, we do that too, and it's become a culinary destination as well. But you're here to talk about money, so let's talk about why we're good at what we're doing. What we do is we have all the top accounting firms, all the top law firms. They tend to be very, very selective in who they get to go there. It's usually number one in Cambridge, number one in Oxford. I'm from University of Toronto. If you know Canada, we're a little bit snobbish. We always call ourselves the Harvard of the North. They tend to take the best of the best in terms of the financial services industry and the financial supporters. So, and then we have very strong alliances with the top law firms around the world as well. So we have very sophisticated structuring, and the government is very supportive in making sure that the instruments that we have available are global compliant, as well as state-of-the-art for anybody who's looking to do investments through the Cayman Islands. So what does that do? It means that the Blackstones of the world, the BlackRocks of the world, the PAMCOs of the world, the large, huge family offices, they're all the investors that put their money through Cayman vehicles. So somebody asked me, why would any Korean company want to use the Cayman Islands? I really do think if you're interested in getting access to that money, to the hypnosis money, to the Ignite money, to the primary wave money, for your music catalogs, for the film projects, for the music, I think that you would want a Cayman vehicle because that's the gold standard. And it goes right back to what I was talking about before. It all goes down to, at the end of the day, what is the auditor going to say? What is it going to look like when they do their due diligence? What is it going to look like when those hedge funds, those private equity firms, those venture capitalists report into their boards? So they want to have the gold standard. They want to have the best of the best. And when you have the best of the best, you attract the most money. And that's the reality of the financial services industry. One of the things as being a British domicile, a British dependent territory, is that if there was ever an enforcement problem, if there was any time of dispute and you had to go to court, our ultimate court of appeal is to the Privy Council in the UK. So it's not as if you've got some judges sitting under a palm tree drinking rum and making decisions. No, this is very serious. Cayman's court is just as respected as the Delaware court in terms of leading financial decisions. The Madoff case, the Sanford case, all of those cases went through Cayman. So there's precedent within the common law system that's coming out of Cayman court that's on par with the best courts in the world. And if there's ever an issue in terms of appealing, it's heard at the UK Privy Council, of course, is the best court in the world. We can debate that, but I think it is. COVID really destroyed the Caribbean because one of the economies that boosts up most islands, apart from Cayman, is the tourism industry. So empty hotels, empty bars, empty restaurants, the economies in the Caribbean were absolutely destroyed. And Cayman, because 80% of its GDP is the financial services, did fine. But Jamaica, Anguilla, Curaçao, Cuba, they're completely destroyed. So the Caribbean is looking for other ways to make money. And one of that is the entertainment industry. So they are looking to collaborate. They're looking to ways that we can build up those industries, and that's where I think the collaboration between Korea and the Caribbean is a good one. Interestingly enough, I was such a small world. I was seeing the wonderful presentation by ACT outside, and so just as I was out there, I got a text from Eshigasset. And Eshigasset was the US manager who launched BTS into the United States and now represents Monster X. And they were at Weebridge. So I was texting him, I said, can you believe it? Here I am sitting here and you were there and it's all coming together. And the first thing he says is, let's collab, let's get a Caribbean artist. And I think there's a lot of that. Now, there's one, okay, I'm going to talk about IP in a second, but I do an event. BMI came to me a couple of years ago and said, we want you to do a singer-songwriter across the Caribbean singer-songwriter festival across the Caribbean along the lines of Key West Singer-Songwriters Festival, because we think the Caribbean vibe is the next big vibe in music. I panicked because I thought, our artists are going to be exploited. We don't know anything. So I agreed to do it as long as they did a Meetum-style conference. Got really lucky because Meetum was canceled, and the International Association of Entertainment Lawyers agreed to do the conference within the event that I want to do. It's called Cool Out, which means relax in Cayman speak. So BMI, international associations, and it talked about SONA. My little button here says SONA, Songwriters of North America. The Songwriters of North America is one of the leading advocacy groups for singer-songwriters out of the United States. It's a 501c3 charity, and so, or nonprofit organization. So when I was talking to the people at SONA that I knew, I said, we really need to do a Caribbean chapter because BMI is on its way, and so are all the labels. They're looking at the Caribbean, and our artists are going to be not ready to not be exploited. So I wanted them to come in and do a Caribbean chapter, which they agreed. So myself and a former lawyer from Maples are the founding directors of the Caribbean chapter of the Singer-Songwriters of North America. And the idea behind that nonprofit is to empower, educate, and advocate for the singer-songwriters. So they do the songwriting camps at the event that I do in November. But let's talk IP. IP, why would anybody want to come to the Cayman Islands and protect their IP? Is because, again, it goes back to it being British. Our copyright legislation is an extension of the UK law. Our patent law is an extension of the UK law. And we have our own trademark registration system, but again, it's based on the UK law. We're actively working with the government right now to modernize our copyright laws, and the person that we have doing it through SONA is an AI expert. Because as soon as I started doing and talking about all of this, all of the blockchain guys, all of the NFT guys, all of the cryptocurrency guys just went whew, and said, we want a part of this. So at the event I had last year, I would say half of the audience was blockchain, cryptocurrency, and AI guys from our economic free zone. So, and they absolutely were looking at music and entertainment as a place where they wanted to invest. So I think there's a huge amount of opportunity there for Korean creators to put themselves in front of those guys and see if they wanted to invest. When I talked about coming here, everybody wanted to come with me. I posted something on LinkedIn the other day when I first said I was going to come here, and it's just blown up with all of it. And if you look at who is liking it, it's the asset managers, it's the blockchain guys, it's everybody. It's not just the artists. So Crypto.com is based out of Cayman. Block One is based out of Cayman. Some huge companies in that space are based out of Cayman. So a lot happening. The scope of the copyright protection, those of you who are in that space and are interested, it mirrors that of the UK. So you can read it just as much. It's 50, 70 years, all of that. We are a signatory to the Berne Convention. One of the things I wanted to really highlight here is the neighboring rights. The Americans didn't sign on to the Berne Convention, so they cannot offer neighboring rights to their artists and creators. However, through the UK, Cayman is a signatory. I believe Korea is as well. So when you're collecting your revenue streams from around the world, it's not going in the black box. I often look, when I was doing my research to come here, and I see a lot of your Korean artists in Los Angeles working with the studios and the labels there. And that's great and convenient for the labels, but it's not great for the artists because now they're getting a US product, and a US product that they will never receive the neighboring rights from around the world. And that could be millions of dollars left on the table. So that's why you're seeing in Cayman, one of the trends is you're seeing a lot of music studios we've got state-of-the-art music studios already there and all being built in hotels there. The Ritz-Carlton, the Kimpton, the Marriott, I think the Four Seasons being built right now. So they're all looking at putting music studios in these hotels so that they can offer what they call music tourism. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do all your heavy lifting in Korea. You can have your bands, your songwriting and whatnot. But you could potentially, if somebody wanted to go to Miami, for instance, get them over and do something in Cayman. So at least you get a Cayman product at the end of the day that you can then register worldwide and get the neighboring rights. So I've gone very fast because was told I only had 10 minutes. But if I've got a few more minutes, I'd like to talk about some trends that I'm seeing that are not on the slides. So one of the things that we've been seeing, and I canvassed some of the asset managers before I came here, was that they still are actively looking at music catalogs. So primary wave, hypnosis. The interesting thing about my event in November, I invited primary wave to come. And as soon as hypnosis found out that primary wave was coming, they contacted me and said, we're coming too. So they're actively still buying music catalogs. I think does that mean time? No, I'm good. Okay. Sorry. So they're actively looking. There was some tax changes in the US that people thought were the capital gains tax changes that people thought were going to happen that didn't happen. So it's still attractive for the American singer-songwriters to sell their catalogs at this stage. But I don't know if that's popular in Korea or not, but that could possibly be a revenue source for creators. In terms of film companies, we're seeing a lot of films at the same, just like the music industry is looking at doing their hardcore production in, say, Los Angeles or Atlanta, where they get the tax incentives and the grants. They're looking at doing their finishing work someplace like Cayman Islands, where they can get, again, the benefits worldwide. We're seeing a lot of venture capitalists. The venture capitalists that I know in Cayman are super, super excited about Korea. But I really do think it's a communication. We need more bridging. Because when I was trying to reach out here, if it had not been for Stein Wu, who has been helping me with Kurao, I wouldn't have been able to meet any of you. I reached out through all of the, sent letters, sent texts, LinkedIn, whatever I could find. Nobody responded. I thought, oh, is it just me? But then I talked to the former Canadian ambassador to Korea, and they said, they're never going to respond to you in Cayman, Andrea, with that Cayman address. You're going to have to tell them you're Canadian. I don't know if that's true or not. You've all been very gracious to me, even though I say I'm from Cayman. But I thought that was very interesting. So I would say keep an open mind. If you get an email from a Cayman Island venture capitalist, answer it, because they definitely want to invest in you. The other last thing I'd like to highlight as a trend is live performance. I represent one of the largest Mexican live performance companies. And they're doing a lot of deals right now, which I call the big boys, the Live Nations, the MCs, the ADGs, and these are the ones who do all the global touring. So what we're seeing, because of the problems in Congress and the Ticketmasters and Live Nations being hauled into Congress because of the scalping of tickets and the pre-sales in the United States, we're seeing a lot of activity in that area. And the one thing that they all say is it's about getting content, about putting interesting content together for their routings. So I really do think there's a huge opportunity there as well, particularly if you do collaborations. If you were to, with Cool Out, what I'm doing in terms of our performances, anybody who's coming to perform is expected to collaborate with a Caribbean artist. And the venture capitalists are happy to invest in that. So they're not being paid performance fees. What they're getting is an investment into the project or the album, but they're getting the Cayman venture capitalists investment, and part of that deal is performing on stage. It's that financial and creative bridge. So that's it. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, please contact myself or Stein. He's there somewhere. And we're available at your convenience. And please come and visit us in the Caribbean. You have my personal welcome to visit me in the Cayman Islands. I will take you for turtle stew. Okay, thank you. 감사합니다.